Welcome back to the Breaker Bros. We're going to go over the Bengals draft selections and kind of give our grades. So starting out, we have Jamar Chase, who is the 5th overall pick in the Bengals' first-round pick. I guess there was a big divide between Jamar Chase and Penei Sewell. I think they made the right choice. To me, I agree with the Bengals. It was a no-brainer. I think they did a great job of protecting their pick in the sense that I think most people could have assumed that it was either going to be Jamar Chase or one of the offensive linemen or maybe even Pitts. But I think truly they really wanted Jamar Chase, and I think that was the guy that we really wanted. And I think it was a pretty solid pick.
I mean, I agree. Oh, and also, we made a couple of videos about that, so you can. We talked about the Chase v. Sewell, and then we also live streamed the draft, so you can check that out if you want to look at the YouTube channel further. Got a lot more viewers as of late because of the draft. But yeah, I mean, I thought the Bengals were going to pick Chase before the draft, leading up to the draft, and then on draft day, I mean, really my biggest worry was that 4th pick. Was something weird going to happen? Well, actually, 3rd pick. I thought, something weird might pick 3 or pick 4 because it was clear the Bengals were going to pick Jamar Chase. And that, if someone really wanted him or if that information tipped some other team off as to what the Bengals were doing, maybe they would make some other type of trade to kind of mess things up. So I mean, I was a little bit probably more relieved than happy that they got Chase because it seemed like it was clearly the guy they wanted.
And then in the second round, they went ahead and got Jackson Carman, which is a local product. I believe he came out of Fairfield. I'm not sure if that's 100% correct, but he's actually from Cincinnati, so that's kind of cool in itself. I think there was a lot of, I guess, suspense and maybe potential drama with this pick, but when they made the pick at the time, I didn't know too much about the offensive lineman, Jackson Carman. However, I would have assumed the Bengals would have picked the best available lineman to them or who they had graded. I think going into the day, the second day, I was thinking maybe like I believe his name was Tevin Jenkins. I think he was the best available lineman, and I think they actually had a shot of actually drafting him.
Yeah, no, they did. They did. They had the 38th pick, right? And every single offensive lineman was available. Like, I mean, all the day 2 offensive linemen, right? They had no offensive linemen, I believe, were picked in the second round prior to the Bengals pick. And they traded down with the Patriots. So they were sitting at 38 and they moved back to 46. And then Tevin Jenkins and a few other linemen came off the board prior to 46. So kind of watching it unfold, I was a little worried, like, wait a minute, is this guy they really wanted? And they picked up some extra picks and still got the guy they wanted, or did they want someone else? I mean, that's going to be, one of the mysteries of this draft. I don't think anybody will come out and admit that they wanted somebody else, right? At least, at least not while this guy's playing for the Bengals. But yeah, I mean, he went to Clemson. I mean, he's a 5-star recruit, athletic dude. They want to have him play guard. He played tackle at one of the best programs in college. So I warmed up to the pick. I mean, I was a little biased because of all the, I did like the cheap armchair research where I just read, mock drafts and all the consensus rankings. And like you said, like Tevin Jenkins or, um, Sam Cosmi and those kinds of guys were ranked ahead of Jackson Carman. But if that's the guy the Bengals wanted, I mean, it looks the part. So, maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, no, I think they, from what I could see, I think they actually they played this draft really well, actually. I think this is the guy that they had targeted. I think they probably anticipated a few other linemen getting picked ahead of him, and that's why they were willing to trade down. What I'm curious is, maybe they knew that this was their plan going in the whole time. I guess my question is, who were they waiting for? I assume, like, I'm wondering, like, if someone would have dropped, who would that have been for them not to trade back? That's basically what I'm wondering. But maybe this was their plan the whole time because they knew that Jackson Carman was going to be there.
I remember before the 38th pick, even I think that Joe Goodberry was tweeting that the Bengals were going to take Jackson Carman. That was the first I heard of it, but it was before they picked. So it supports the theory that, you know, this is the guy the Bengals targeted. They saw the draft, how it was falling. They decided to take the risk that the player they wanted would be available at 46, and they picked up a couple of extra picks from the Patriots. So, you know, this is a swing position, right? Either Jackson needs to start at guard next year, or you know, during the season, or potentially one of the other players they picked from this trade. I guess we'll get to those later, but you know, we'll see. I mean, you know, I don't think it's a big ask to ask someone who played at an elite program at tackle, who has all the physical tools to slide into guard, to, you know, to play as a rookie.
So the research I did, I'm actually, the more I looked into it, I think we knocked the draft out, or I think we did pretty well. I mean, there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of bad potential too. So, but in my opinion, he's going to come in, and I think he's going to be a well above average guard. Like,
yeah, well, if that's the case, right? If that's the case, right? Let's forget the rest of the draft, right? If the case is that Chase is who we hope to be, right? Some sort of replacement for AJ Green. So if he approaches AJ Green's production his rookie year, right? And if Jackson Carman's at above average right guard, doesn't matter. The rest of the draft doesn't matter. It would be a win, right? That would be an A draft, right? That would make the team so much better. If those two picks pan out, right? And then the rest of the draft, you know, I think you would still get an A regardless of what happened the rest of the draft.
Well, so this is what happened. He got hurt. So he got hurt, I believe, his senior year. And from what I understand, he's always been a physically gifted athlete. I mean, obviously, he went to Clemson. He protected Trevor Lawrence blindside. So, I mean, obviously, Clemson really thought highly of him. And what I was trying to figure out, well, why, if he was that good, why did he slip, right? But really, what happened was he got hurt late in the season. But the good thing is that there are signs of that. His technique did get a lot better in college, and he is just like a mauler. Like, he just swallows people up. Like, the only knock on him, which is with most bigger athletes, is that can they keep up with the defensive linemen? Because I think when I think of Jackson Carman, I think of Andrew Whitworth. Like, I get a strong Andrew Whitworth vibe that he's going to come in, he's going to kick ass at guard, and I think this is their plan all along. Is like, I think they're going to try to move him to tackle. Like, it's going to be between.
No, I mean that's the Bengals.
It's going to be between Jackson Carman and the guy that Deontay Smith. They whoever, they have a year to figure it out, right? Because we have Reef for a year, but I see him either. I can actually see him at left tackle. Like, when I'm watching his film, and maybe this is just me, but he's a big guy and he's very quick, and like he played 1-on-1 against Chase Young fairly well. Like, maybe his technique wasn't all the way there, however, but like his technique got better after the fact. So it's like, the sky's the limit. I think, like I said, he's gonna come in. He's gonna be this is why this is such great values, because they have him projected as a guard right now, who could potentially be a solid right tackle at the very least. From what I could tell.
Yeah,
and I think that's a solid plan.
The Bengals pattern, right? Any guard they like, they try to move to tackle. And the other thing is, like, everybody keeps saying Riley Reef is like a 1-year guy. We don't know that, right? I mean, if
that's the floor.
Plays well this year, right? I mean, they could re-sign him. There's nothing prohibiting the Bengals from re-signing. Right?
I think with how they drafted, they may not necessarily need to rely on him, but I mean that would be a good problem to have, right? So it's
that's what I mean. It's like they manage the risk on the tackle, decently, right? I mean, like, if you just look at the right tackle, right, you see their plan for this year is Riley Reef, and probably their backup plan is, well, if Reef goes down, then maybe they'll try to slide Jackson Carman out and then put somebody else at guard. But then, for 2022, there's nothing stopping them from re-signing Riley Reef or getting another free agent. I mean, I don't, like, I didn't buy into like the hysteria of, oh no, if you don't draft Sewell, then, your offensive line's going to be terrible. I mean, you can sign free agents.
I agree.
I mean, I would argue that it's easier for the Bengals to sign an offensive lineman in free agency than it would be for them to sign a wide receiver in free agency.
Yeah, for sure. And then in the third round, it seemed like they went more with value. I did a little bit of research on Joseph Asai, and then, oddly enough, I think he actually intercepted Joe Burrow, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But it was off a tip pass.
Cheated? You think they cheated? Like, oh yeah, we remember him from when we scouted Joe Burrow. Let's get him.
No, I think he like when I see him, it kind of reminds me of it's like a poor man's TJ Watt. Like, I don't think he's going to be like exactly like him, but I think he's like kind of like an in between guy. Like, from what I understand, he performed really well at defensive end, but just based off his size, it just seems like he might be a little bit undersized. It says he's 6'4", 253, but I for some reason I thought he was shorter than that. I don't know if this is actually, I guess it's correct because it's off the Bengals website, but and then I'm not sure if you have anything more to say about that one.
I did no research on him. I saw Texas starter. I figure he's got to be a really good athlete. So,
I think their plan. Well, I think their plan is I mean, he's not going to be like he's like one of those people, like, they're going to rely heavily on a rotation. Like I see what they're doing. Like, this is a high motor guy, kind of like Trey Hendrickson and our other defensive end, and they're just going to wear people out, like the tackles, And then Cam Sample, from what I understand, like, he's kind of like a tweener, linebacker, defensive end type deal, kind of like a poor man's. They were comparing him to the guy that we let go. Oh, I can't think of his name. Signed with the Giants.
Carl Lawson.
Yeah, Carl Lawson. It said they're like very similar. But this one, Tyler Shelvin. This is basically because we traded down, we were able to get Shelvin and Deontay Smith. These were the two. But I think this is a very high value pick that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. Because he's massive and he moves as a big guy. But I think the reason why he fell a little bit was because he was another one of those people that opted out. So, like, I think he could have been potentially like a second round pick or maybe a late first round pick. But I guess because he had set out, he kind of got lost in the shuffle. So, like, I think it was kind of a surprise that he actually slipped this far, but I guess it's just kind of how it goes. I guess I get a sense because it seemed like the first couple of rounds were really heavy on linemen throughout, or offensive linemen. And I think it just caused a lot of things to push further down in terms of, I guess, defensive tackles. But
well, they say that, or at least one of the theories I buy into is that because of the lack of a traditional combine, uh, that the each of the teams were fairly isolated. So they, you know what I mean? Like they kind of uh, scout each other at the combine. They kind of watch, oh, the 49ers are looking at this guy. Maybe we should look at him. So it kind of um, averages out everybody's opinions. But because all the teams were separated, it's sort of like everybody had their own draft board, and guys who are second day picks, third day picks, teams could have just drastically different grades on them because they didn't have that, week where everybody was in one place to kind of, you know, pick up on what everybody else was doing. So, sure, I'm optimistic. He's a big guy. We need big dudes on the defensive line. I mean, hopefully they re-sign Geno Atkins, but I mean, the defensive line was a need, so it's about the right place to pick a defensive lineman. I don't know if this is the right guy, but I hope he is.
I would be excited if they were able to re-sign Geno, but I'm not even sure if they will, because I was just looking at like all the people that they drafted. So it'll be interesting. I don't think everyone that they drafted is actually going to make the team, but you never know. And then
I mean, I'm thinking about getting a jersey. It just says cap space on the back.
Deontay Smith seems like another potential starter down the road. At the very least, he's another depth player. But I think he was our third. Yes. Wait. No. He was our second offensive lineman that we took. And then I know we took one a little bit later. But to me, it's just another solid depth player. Maybe he can add potential competition, or maybe he has potential to be a decent starting tackle, potentially. But definitely a step up for some of the other backups that we got. So I can definitely see some people getting cut that we had last year. So, and then the 5th round pick, I know they always say it's kind of high for a 5th round for a kicker, but I mean,
oh, did you see that that trick shot he did? So here's the trick shot from the kicker that we were talking about. So it's from the 20-yard line, right? I'm really impressed. I mean, you know how I feel about Dude Perfect, so things like this impress me. So I'm like, yes.
well, interestingly enough, the kicker for the Ravens wasn't even drafted. So like,
yeah,
for the Bengals to spend a 5th round pick, or I guess any NFL team to spend a 5th round pick on a kicker, means that they think really highly of him. But I certainly think he's worth a 5th round pick. I mean, if you think, and anyone that's been a Bengals fan recently, or I guess the last 6 years, we like the kicker should have been upgraded a long time. And actually, we had a kicker that we drafted a few years back, Elliott.
About this high, right? He was like a 5th or 6th rounder.
Yeah, I think so. And he turned out to be a really good kicker. Or I mean, not really
won
good.
A Super Bowl.
at the very least, above average kicker, right? So like, and if you have an above average kicker,
Super Bowl winning team. I mean, that's pretty good, right?
No, he did really. I mean, he did a lot better than the kicker we kept, or the kickers afterwards, right? So it's like,
yeah.
But I actually think this guy might be rated higher than the one that we got before. But yeah, apparently he's got a really good leg and potential to develop a little bit more. So I think it's a solid pick, because I mean, even if he's like 15% better than what we have, that's like literally that could have won us several games. And
I guess
it could score us more points.
The more we talk about the Evan McPherson, it makes me feel like the value of our Austin Seibert rookie autograph football card is just plummeting. So,
oh yeah, it's toast.
I mean, that's no good. No bueno.
Well, unless he goes somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe he'll go to like a big market team, but we'll see.
And then we got, which seems to be another depth player in Trey Hill. I'm not sure if that's just in case if Hopkins is not ready by the beginning of the season. But I don't mind it because, again, we knew going into this draft, offensive line was a very big need. Or a big need. I shouldn't say very big need. But
I did with my cheap and quick and easy research. They say that Trey Hill tested poorly because he had knee surgery recently. So, like, I mean, the story is that his either doctor or the athletic trainer told him not to do some of the drills because of the knee surgery, and he did them anyways, and that kind of downgraded him a little bit.
Yeah, no, I don't know too much about him, but I know, I mean, he was at Georgia, so that should say a lot, and we typically do well with Georgia picks, so. But honestly, after that, I think some of these picks,
how tall do you think Chris Evans really is, man? Like, if that's 5'11" with the hair, does that mean, like, with his helmet on, he's only like 5'5", 5'6"?
Possibly, I don't know.
That's a lot of hair.
It is. I don't even know how he can keep it in the helmet.
Yeah. Probably fits tight.
And then in the 7th round, we got Wyatt Hubert, which, again, not too familiar with, but seems like another depth player. But I'm not even sure if he makes the team, but you never know.
Never know.
And that pretty much wraps up the draft. They've already confirmed the numbers.
Nice. Did you order your Chase jersey yet?
No, because I don't think they have him in orange yet, but I need to double check. They might have it now, but I didn't
coming
see
soon, right? I mean, that for sure is coming soon.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then this is basically all the draft grades by the major analysis or analyst from all the major networks or whatnot.
Yeah,
but you can see kind of.
So the Bengals graded out as at the 20th best, right? Which is interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's how it averaged out. Yeah.
So they averaged out to a B, but I mean, I don't know, man. I like the C-. That's kind of hard grading, I think.
Well, I think it just depends on how you feel about the first round pick. Like, I wonder how some of these people rated the Giants.
Well, yeah,
the Giants
but I mean,
it
doesn't make any damn sense to me, right? Like, it's like, what? Jamar Chase wasn't worthy of the 5th pick, you know?
I mean, if we hit a home run on Jamar Chase, like, if he's a Hall of Fame player, then it's an automatic A, right? Like, if you draft one Hall of Fame player, that's like an automatic A for a draft for the most part, right? So, like, I think that the floor is like a C. Like, you can't really just base off the first round pick, potentially, unless, like, you know. But but like, for me, like, I was trying to, like, think about it, like, without having, like, too much of being, like, too much of a homer. But I think most of us Bengals fans were a little bit more harsher because we are Bengals fans. But I actually think they're at, like, a B+ right now, with down the road potential being like A++ if everything pans out the way I think it can.
I mean,
right now I think it's a B+.
If you're right about the first 2 picks, I think it's an A draft, right?
Yeah, I think it's but yeah, I'm just saying, like, going, but there's no guarantee. Like, the only thing that prevents me from making it like a solid A is that the Bengals have historically been bad at evaluating people that are hurt or not hurt or whatever. So it's like, if this guy's healthy, which I think he is, then this is easily A. But
wait. You see these grades? Who's this Michael Lombardo, man? Damn.
What did he give us?
Just look down his column. Look at the grades he gave to people. I'm not even looking at what he gave the Bengals.
Oh, he gave us a B. That's good. It means he's a tough grader. Give the Colts an F. Houston F. Houston, I don't know what's going on.
F minus, man.
I think Houston with their first pick, which was in the 3rd round, drafted a quarterback. I'm like, wow.
I don't know how you give them an F. It's like they need a quarterback.
Well,
they drafted one. I mean, what are you gonna do?
I definitely think we did a lot better than 20th. I mean, I just don't. I don't. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think just looking at what everyone else drafted on, I just. I guess Bengals are kind of looking at like we're just going to outscore everyone. Is kind of how they're looking at it, and then
why not?
Maybe win the turnover battle, and then if you can just have a high powered offense, and then be a turnover machine, then on the defense, then that's all we really need. But if anything, where I thought we could have done better, potentially maybe get another solid starting cornerback would have been good, and maybe like a dynamic defensive end. But I mean, obviously that's asking a lot because you can't have
you only
like
get some 8 picks, right?
Well, it's just not every team, or there's not really a team that's going to have like a dynamic player at every position, unless you're the Buccaneers. But that's because people are willing to pay less, or get paid less or whatever. But
yeah. But isn't that part of the formula though, right? Like say like you like so if I were in charge of the Bengals, right, that would be my plan. I'm just gonna focus on the offense in the draft and team building, right? For 2021, I would make the offense as good as I can make it with the idea that we would outscore people, right? And then you go through 2021, and if it works and people buy into your quarterback, then you can get those discount free agents, right? People are like, well, yeah, I'll play for the Bengals, right? Because if Joe Burrow really shows out and plays well, then people are like, well, the quarterback can win a Super Bowl, I'll come in and join up, right? That's how you patch your holes with free agents. Is you get like the guys who are ring chasers, right? Who are willing to take a little bit less money. You can do that when you show that you have a good quarterback.
I actually think our secondary, I do definitely think it's above average, especially our safeties. I think, especially compared to the rest of the division, I think our secondary is actually definitely not the worst, but it may not be better than I think Cleveland might have the better options, but outside of that, I just don't see anyone in our division or maybe even conference stopping. I mean, if our offense can just be average, right, then I just don't see really any defense really slowing us down, especially in our own conference.
Well, I mean, it's a salary cap league. You can't be good at you can't be like great at every position, right? You have to build a team with some sort of strategy, and like who do you think the Bengals' best player is?
Right now, I guess I would have to go with. That's a tough question. I guess Burrow. I mean, if he is actually healthy, then it would have to be Burrow. But it just there's a part of me in deep down inside knows like it may not pan out well. We don't know. So like,
but you have to. I mean, right. There's that caveat that maybe he doesn't come back and isn't the same player. But if he is, then he's the best player. So you build around your best player, right? So, to me, the problem wasn't necessarily with their draft. I mean, and free agency isn't over, right? They can still sign another offensive lineman if they needed to. But you build around your best player.
Yeah, I think one of the telltale signs was that they're willing to let go of Gio. So I think that just I'm assuming to kind of counter and off balance the intense rush that I'm sure a lot of teams, especially in our own division, is what they're going to try to create. It's going to be like a lot of quick passes, a lot of quick outs, a lot of quick I mean, that's kind of like what Tom Brady is notorious about, just getting the ball out quick to the point where like you just can't really rush that quick because you're just going to give up chunks of yard. So like, and then it's just going to get to the point too where like once people start slowing down a little bit, you actually give time to Joe Burrow to pick them apart. So it's just kind of like, if we can do that, that's fine. But and I think that's the game plan, because we're going to be in a lot of 3 receiver sets with a running back and a tight end. So the tight end is probably going to be left in to kind of either chip or help block, or even the running back. But like that was another thing, is that Jamar Chase is like, he's going to beat a lot of people over the top, up the middle, across the field. Like he's just, with him, Higgins, and Boyd, it's just going to be a matchup nightmare. And even if you include Mixon out of the backfield. So I think we'll be fine, but you just never know. It's just like, and also I still wouldn't even feel safe with Sewell. So like, even if we got him, there's still 4 other people that have to block, or maybe even 5 other people. So it's like, I don't know. One person alone is not going to shore up the line, but I think between the offseason and the draft, and like you said, there's potential that they could sign someone else. I think they're not going to sign an offensive lineman unless a better one gets cut by a team.
No, I don't see them signing an offensive lineman. That's the one thing I don't understand with all the cap space. Like, what's the plan?
Well, I think they're getting ready to re-sign Bates. I think he's due for a big contract extension. Plus, and our other defensive lineman. And then, huh?
Defensive end?
Yeah. Oh my God, what's his name? Hubert?
Sam.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, I don't think he's like an all-pro, but I mean, I think he's like an above-average defensive end.
They have a lot of cap space.
I think it was like 26, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take $26 million to sign those 2 people, and that's next year, right? They don't sign them this year.
Yeah, but you can count some of that. I honestly, yeah, there's I'm sure 10 of it has to account for the rookies, right? And then part of it you have to keep reserve in case, like when people get hurt and stuff like that, where you have to pull people off the street essentially. And then, but yeah, no, I mean they should have. But I from what I understand, it is to keep the players that we draft, like Bates and Hubbard. Which I would imagine Hubbard's getting a very similar deal to Hendrickson if they were to offer it, which is not breaking the bank, but that's still essentially $14 million more than what he's getting paid now.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes a difference. But
and then Bates is probably going to get like top 5, whatever safeties make.
We'll have to do an episode on a salary cap deep dive. See if we can figure out what they're trying to do.
I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Stay tuned.